And I am live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because here I am trying to do my thing, which in this case involves trying to explain things to people and trying to have them understand it. It's not always easy. And of course, part of this is to follow up with the old anthem, that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. At the moment, I'm the only one here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera back off again before Discord goes ahead and does it on its own, which is going to be a little bit of a problem. In any case, it's good to be back with you. I hope you all are having yourselves a good day. I am inviting IO to come back and join me at the moment because UnrenownedTech unfortunately had an unexpected thing come up, so he's not going to be able to join us. I am not sure if Joseph is going to be able to join us. He's hoping to, of course, but we got to wait and see on that. And I haven't heard from Brigid in a little bit, so I'm gonna have to check in on her and see how things are going. I'm of course sincerely hoping that everything works right, but we gotta kind of wait and see. I'm a little concerned, as you can probably imagine. Be that as it may, here I am, ready to go ahead and do my thing. I have no drink, and at the moment, I have nobody in the live chat, which unfortunately is kind of unusual. So we'll work with it as best we can. But, of course, if you would like to join us as we record live, you can just pop over here on YouTube, and we'll see what we can do to, keep things happy over there on the bottom. You'll be able to join us, comment in, maybe even steer the conversation just a little bit. But we'll deal with that when we can. So, in the meantime, let me go ahead and get everything rolling because the show must go on. So, with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle started right now. Expectations. Now, we, of course, have a lot of expectations, and some of them are expected to be, continuous. Some of them are a little on the weird side. It all depends as to what's going on. The expectations that we have for different things, of course, are predicated on the situations and the context of what we're dealing with. Somebody at work for me had recently said, they were amazed that the only thing in the Constitution for country is what are the qualifications for someone to be president? And there are only a handful of qualifications, one of which is age. Have to be at least 35 years old at the time of being sworn in. And there is citizenship things, and there's a couple of other pieces that are kind of part and parcel of all that, but you get the idea. So when we were discussing this, I brought up this piece, which, it was a little tough, not gonna lie, because there are the things that we talk about on the show, and I kind of wanted to condense it a little bit for him so that, it wasn't so dense and it wasn't, off-putting. But at the same time, at least, it left the idea of the problem of what we had, the framework of what we have by the framers, the founding fathers, is that it is just the framework. And when you're building a house, you need the framework in order to put everything else up. Well, okay, the framework is supposed to give you the structure, but all of the you will not pieces that go into the legislative part of it all, the rules, kind of come in later, and they have to kind of fill in the gaps in between. And unfortunately, that's where we find ourselves currently. We've got someone who has shown themselves to be a competent person in authority, and we have someone who has shown that they have been incompetent and detrimental even to that office. And it's kind of hard to look at these and the people who support them and think they're okay. It's really hard to try to square the circle of how could anyone just accept what's being done, at the very least on one side of the equation, which kind of has colored in why the show is going to be what it is tonight. So I had to explain that back in the day, there was the expectation that there would be some semblance of propriety that people would do, that people would follow, and that part of the electoral colleges system was supposed to have been, if the public is electing someone that the electoral college knows absolutely for a fact should not be voted for, should not be selected, that they would have the ability of changing that course. And that was what they were supposed to do, because that was the expectation, that if they did it, the only reason that they would be for a damned good reason, not for the simple reason of selfishness and greed, because that wasn't even a thing. It wasn't considered to be a problem, because by and large it wasn't. If you did something wrong, yeah, you could get away with it briefly, but then everybody else would call you out on it, and then, well, yeah, I guess I really shouldn't be here doing this. All right, fine, I'll go away now. And the only group that has seen to fulfill on that piece of propriety over the last, well, during my lifetime, has been the Democratic Party. And it's annoying because, as somebody put it, evil wins because good is stupid. That's not exactly the right way of wording it, but it's kind of hard to argue with that. So as far as I'm concerned, the expectation now for the good guys isn't that they need to stoop down to their level, is that they need to punch that level out of the equation. And if you think it's easy to do, it's not. But really, what other choices are there? It's either get a little muddy, get a little dirty, or don't have a functional government inside of a decade. The choices are really, really up to you. And lo and behold, I have been joined as I'm maneuvering all of my stuff over here. As was mentioned, I'm very grateful. Io, thank you for being able to take a little bit of time out again this morning. How you doing?
It's still evening for me. I'm still doing crew stuff for Second Life's birthday. I'm actually back of house, so I'm hunting for the next talent. We have a name. I'm so if I go quiet for a while, it's probably because I'm frantically typing.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me in the least, but I'm glad you're able to, take a couple of moments to help me out here. We'll see how things work out.
Your rant was actually very interesting because in the second to last election in Canada that I was able to vote in, because I got disenfranchised thanks to the postal system. There was an underground movement to stop the Conservatives from getting back into power. The last one or the one before, whatever. There was an underground movement to stop the Conservatives from getting back into power because they had been in power for a while. And people were being convinced to vote anything but conservative. So that was like the Marijuana Party, the Green Party, the NDPs. The NDPs were practically begging people to vote for them just to get some of their people in. Green Party as well. A couple of elections before that, one of the Green Party members got in. That election, a second one got in, at least. I'm probably mushing a couple of elections together. But they did that. They said, anybody but conservative. Vote for anybody but conservative. If the conservative is the one that's running or the writing, vote for the opposition to try and block them. The person that you think would be the best opposition.
Yeah, and reminding folks, when we talk about Canadian politics and we talk about conservative party, they, if memory serves, the quote-unquote conservative, capital C, conservative party, tend to be closer to the liberal side, the progressive side, right?
They're more liberal than American, but there's a group of them that are basically Canadian Trumpers.
Yep. Sorry for exporting a whole bunch of our crap your way. We try.
As you can tell, I'm already frantically typing because I've got 10 minutes to get this done.
Yep, perfectly understandable. So I understand if things get a little bit on the dicey side because, well, timing-wise.
You've experienced it.
Yep. Yes, I have. And before we get to the horrible scopes proper, earlier tonight, as of recording, I did do a 1-hour set for the birthday group over there in Second Life. They needed a pickup DJ. I offered almost immediately as soon as it became available, thanks to somebody reminding me that I really need to be watching like a hawk for the group because, almost that time. So I got some ears to listen, and I got a lot of staff to listen, and I got a lot of thanks sent out to the staff also, which also happens to include Io in this particular case. So thank you, hon. It's appreciated.
I promised I would try to say, hey. We've had another performer, and I'm wishing her the best of luck in her recovery. She went down with a hip fracture and is currently in the hospital. So I've kind of hinted at somebody else to watch then, but I really shouldn't be because it's kind of, yeah. It's basically first come, first serve. If you are available, you're already signed up, and somebody can't make it,
Yeah.
you have a chance.
Yep, and that's the way it goes. So I got lucky tonight. Instead of doing a full on what I'm planning on doing, which as a recording is going to be Tuesday night from now, which is going to be an all cartoon show. That's going to be fun. I kind of showed off part of that tonight, but I very specifically was doing 1982 music with a couple of exceptions, just because it was fun that way. So
it was fun. It was quite fun.
It was good. I got the chance to have a little fun at some folks' expense and catch their attention. And oh boy, some people were not expecting some of the stuff that ended up happening. When folks say, "I want music for a trance," or "I want music for making babies," and here I am, I've got my complete list of stuff from 1982 loaded up on the screen in front of me, and I'm just like, "I got that song. I got that song. I got that song. I got that song." Yeah, guess what, folks? You're getting exactly what you asked for. It was worth it. It was fun. And I get to do it all over again soon.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get it rolling. Time for the horrible scopes. If you know what your astrological sign is, cool. If you don't really much care. You can go ahead. You can roll one. You can spin one because there's a set of dice with a spinny set that was pointed out recently. Yeah, you know what? I should really. I think it was Dalan that showed that one up. I need to make sure that we got a link for that for later. I know where it is. I just got to remind myself that I need that. Of course, if you need a set and you want to order it from a actual brick and mortar place, get in touch with the nice folks over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia. They'll sell it. Maybe they'll ship it. I don't know. Maybe they will. I don't know. You got nothing to lose. You could always drop in on them and say hi. Say hi to the mimic in the window, assuming it's in the window, and let them know I sent you. Hail, hail, Fredonia, the home of the Blue Devil. So, some of you might also be kind of feeling this too, because I sure as hell was this week, feeling a little under the weather, meaning that it feels like the air outside is literally denser than it normally is, and my God, I couldn't write that any more accurately than I just did. It is heavier, and considering the humidity level, That'd be about right. So this week, we're pairing you all up with different weather-related music to help you pass the time. Preferably indoors with air conditioning or minimally box fans. So load up your Zune, plug in your headphones, and try to stay in the shade as much as possible. Aries, starting us off strong, you're getting that monster rock hit from 1992 by Guns N' Roses, November Rain. This song evokes a feeling of a dreary, lonely November downpour with an iconically memorable guitar solo that'll have you wanting to listen to the raindrops pelting the roof outside your window, especially if you can properly say the words. So this week, it's okay to open your window at the top so you can hear the rain better. It's not from the bottom so you don't get your bed wet.
Taurus, you get to groove with the smooth this week. Going back to 1993 and the movie Cool Runnings, you're getting Jimmy Cliff's version of a Johnny Nash classic. I can see clearly now that the rain has gone. It's gone, whatever. This song's lyrics and vocals are enthusiastic and hopeful, reminding us that there are brighter days coming after the rains. So this week, try to remember that reggae and ska are two different musical styles, and it's okay to enjoy them both.
Yeah, when we were premiering this Friday night, last night as a recording, somebody pointed out that there is how to tell the difference between ska and reggae.
I believe one is before you toke, and the other one is after.
And it's kind of hard to argue with that one. It's really hard to argue with that one. Gemini, since we mentioned the early 1970s, let's remind you that in 1971, there was a genre of music called swamp rock. One of the biggest names being Creedence Clearwater Revival. And their hit, Have You Ever Seen the Rain? The song's lyrics explore the contradictions and cyclical natures of life. How eventually bad things will end and good will return. So this week, next time you're in your car, put on this song full volume and sing the lyrics with your full voice all the way through. We dare you to not feel good and uplifted after.
And I have the talent and I have to do my job. I will be back as soon as possible. If I missed the scopes, I'm sorry.
Is what it is.
I'm so sorry.
No worries. Cancer Moonchild, with lyrics by Richard B. Smith and music by Felix Bernard, written in 1934, you're hopefully feeling cooler with Winter Wonderland. The song's about enjoying the beauty and stillness of the snow, and you can already hear the sound of the ice crunching under your boots, right? So this week, just because Michael Bublé may have repopularized this wintry tune by doing a modern version, doesn't mean he's a good singer. Remember, popular doesn't necessarily mean good. Follow your heart. Leo, let's drop you back into 1970 and legendary singer-songwriter James Taylor's classic, Fire and Rain. It's an exploration of loss through life and how to move on after grief. It's a gentle, soothing guitar ballad that's hard to dislike. So this week, just remember one of his other song titles, You've Got a Friend. We'll be here for you. And sometimes mental health support comes in the form of a chocolate cake. We'll make one for you. Virgo, we have to jump forward almost 25 years for you this time. The 1994 song title is Lightning Crashes by Live. Yes, the name of the group is Live. It's an alt-rock, post-grunge, pop-rock song that explores themes of life, death, and love. It's a song that makes you think about your relationships and destiny through melancholy and emotional vocals. So this week, remember the expression, lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. It's not true. So it's okay for you to be paranoid that something bad will hit you again. Libra, ever heard the musical genre called psychedelic soul? Yeah, we hadn't either, but what you gonna do when the name lands so perfectly? We're talking about Smash Mouth's 1997 song, Walkin' on the Sun. If nothing else, the rap verses of the song are energetic and fun to listen to. So this week, try to remember that you can create an entire career on 3 minutes and 26 seconds. Scorpio, let's drop you to 1940 and a song by Jimmy Davis and Charles Mitchell, a song that you didn't know that you know. The culturally known You Are My Sunshine. It's a staple of childhoods for generations and likely to be for generations to come. So this week, what's going to be more important for you? Being remembered for doing something? Or letting the something be remembered long after you've been forgotten? Work towards whatever that goal is. Sagittarius, as a weird one, this one's hard to beat. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head by B.J. Thomas was a hit in 1969 and was an odd choice to put in the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. In none of the scenes with the song was there rain, but who cared? They didn't have any rain in Spider-Man 2 when they used it either. It's a bouncy, positive reminder to smile through the rain and await the sunshine after the storms. So this week, there's a My Little Pony song with a similar theme to it, Let It Rain, sung by Sunset Shimmer. Check it out sometime. And maybe I should put that in the show notes too, come to think of it. Capricorn, the 70s are really popular on this lista. One more from 1972 specifically, It Never Rains in Southern California by Albert Hammond. It's a soft rock song with lyrics that evoke feelings of being in the desert emotionally. It's a yearning for love and connection. So this week, connections are something for social creatures like humans. You are human. You need some connections, like it or not. And virtual connections work too. Aquarius, we're going back to the cold weather and long cold nights with 1945's classic Let It Snow by Sammy Cahn. It's all about the fun things to do in the winter while you watch the snow fall. If you feel a bit nostalgic, that's okay. That means the song's connected with you on an emotional level. So this week, emotional connections are good. Think about them this week and marvel at just how long-lasting they've been for you. And finally, my fellow fish Pisces, you don't really like country and country rock, but Garth Brooks' song Thunder Rolls from 1991 just works for you. It illustrates the darker side of relationships when things are stormy, within and without, and makes you feel like you have a ringside seat to the narrator's breakup. And reminds us of the breakups and rough times we've experienced in our lives. So this week, you've grown up after all those rough patches. It's not been easy, sure, but at least you're better because of them. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, don't really much care, because the weather comes equally for everyone. But, of course, as always, if you like something nicer or naughtier for yourself or someone else, all you need to do is bribe me. And by bribe, I mean ask. Or you can literally bribe me. Swing over to the coffee page, coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted online at the end of the week. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, BlueSky. Remember those BlueSky the NFT invite codes that I got on the thumb drive? I can't even afford to get the acrylic to like make a cube out of it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do anymore. Somebody suggested I put them all on a micro SD card, but then that kind of like defeats the whole purpose of the originals, because the originals will still. You know what? I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's just gonna be there. It's just gonna sit there. It'll stay. It'll go. I don't know. I don't care. It's just kind of gonna be what it is. And over there in the live chat, Stephanie, good morning. Glad you were able to make it. You hope you're taking care of yourself, because I have no idea what the weather is like over there this morning. I haven't checked. It's been brutal. over here in Buffalo this week, and by brutal I mean like, oh god, I forgot to do the conversion in my head. Heat index in the almost 95 degree Fahrenheit range, which 34, almost 35 C, I think, is a heat index, which means that, the heat plus the humidity equals I really don't want to be outside working. Thank you very much. I'm just glad that I get some cold air in the shop before I have to go back outside again and literally feel the difference in the air density as I go from one to the other. This is episode episode 497 on the docket, Your Honor. Don't be D, be I. Be really nice to convert a whole bunch of the Republican Party here in the United States to being Democrats, or at the very least, being Democratic voters. But just as difficult as it would be for a registered Democrat to be swung to being a registered Republican does not want to be swung to being a registered Democrat. And totally reasonable. I totally get that. I myself am not a registered Democrat. I am, however, registered as independent because I would much rather vote on the issue and the people, even though on the last couple of years plus, it's been really hard not to vote line item Democrat. So maybe, just maybe, what we can do is actually convince those who are in the Republican Party to stop being registered Republicans and just become independent. Because that would be a great way of showing the Republican Party you're losing people on the issues without having to say, yeah, and I joined the party of Satan in the process. Maybe, just maybe, that's the way to try to get some of these people to get off that live wire that's electrocuting everybody.
So I'm back until the top of the hour.
Okay. So, Io, what do you think about that? I mean, I know the politics in Canada, what you've kind of gotten used to, is very different because a lot more of it is actually building coalition, building agreements between disparate groups in order to get a collection that can, just say, okay, you know what, the majority of us say this is the way to go, versus here in the United States where it's very much a kick everybody to the curb that you can so that you can get your thing done.
I have voted all over the political spectrum when it comes to Canadian politics. I even threw my vote one time and voted Marijuana Party. Honestly, the Transcendental Meditation Party, if they had been in my district, my riding, I would have voted for them, but they didn't. Transcendental Meditation was run by Doug Henning, a magician. He was planning on making the deficit and the debt just disappear. Just imagine me wiggling my hands like I'm doing magic. The last time I voted on I voted NDP specifically because I wanted to block the liberal asshole who didn't even show up to town hall meetings. Like, you didn't show up? Why didn't you show up? There was a women's only town hall meeting for women's issues. There was a general town hall meeting for general issues. There was even a couple aimed at the kids that were going to be able to vote. This guy had such an attitude, like he didn't actually have to show up. And worse, not one of his representatives showed up either. So he lost my vote. And I looked at the other people and I was thinking, maybe I should vote for a throwaway. No, I didn't. And I voted for the NDP, and I actually do not like my minister. or member of parliament, whatever he is. I'm tired. I don't like him. I think he's a jerk because the last election that we had in Canada, do you know how many emails, Twitters, little tweets I did? Every single way I could to contact news reports, news media, everything, because my ballot did not arrive until December 20th.
Just a little bit outside the time frame.
It should have been there before September 20th when the election was supposed to be held, and it was supposed to have been there in time for me to send it back, because even if it was in the mail, if it had not arrived in time, they wouldn't have counted it. So I just started to swear, and right now, I've been a poll clerk, I've been an enumerator, I've been a poll supervisor, I've been the person legally responsible for those thousand of ballots, because every single person that's there at the polls for a Canadian election, there's the poll clerk, voting clerk, whatever, and then there's the person that actually handles the ballots. That person is legally responsible for that 1,000 ballots. And if there's something wrong with it, it's on their head. So I'm really pissed off at Elections Canada because I did everything right. I made sure that I was registered as a foreign voter, like an absentee voter, before the election was even called. Weeks before it was called. And there was rumors of it. Back in November, this last November, there was another set of rumors that there was going to be a vote of no-confidence, which immediately causes the government to fall if the vote fails to uphold the government. And that would have caused another election. So I immediately made sure that my address was right and everything was right. And it didn't happen. Back in the 90s, I actually voted the Reform Party. The Reform Party merged with the remainder of the Conservative Party, and for a while there, they were the Conservative Reform Alliance Party of Canada. Put that together. They had to change their name.
Perfect.
Yes, the CRAP Party. It could not be said in the House of Commons, and it was a hilarious moment. Canadians have more fun with their politics generally because there's more humorous stuff, but it's just Americans, it's two gorillas having a shit flinging contest at each other. Except right now, the big orange gorilla is throwing a hell of a lot more shit at the other one, and the other one's just kind of dodging. Most of it, but not all of it. And Canadian is a three-ring circus, complete with a master of ceremonies walking out there with his baton, the elephants, the rhino party, the marijuana party, the Bloc Québécois. Oh, yeah. For a while there in Canada, Bloc Québécois was technically the party that was the Queen's loyal opposition. The party that was trying to break up Canada was the Queen's loyal opposition. Oh.
That sounds wrong to me, but I don't follow Canadian politics quite as much as I otherwise might. It's kind of weird.
I believe that anybody who is a legal citizen of that country that they are in should be allowed to vote. That includes children that are foreign-born of the citizens, the dual citizenship thing.
Yep.
I believe that people who become citizens should be allowed to vote. I believe that people who are born citizens, born in that country, should be allowed to vote. I believe that servicemen and women who have children outside of the country but in the armed forces hospital should be allowed to vote.
Minimally, in a situation like that, I firmly believe they should be permitted dual citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
If you were born, perfect example. If you were born, okay, I have to back up on this one just a little bit. Okay, the example I was going to use was if you were born at an army base, hospital, as an example, in Germany, theoretically, German American dual citizenship, but I then just remembered to myself, if you are on a US base, by technicality, it's sovereign land. Meaning, by technicality, you're inside the border of the United States of America. Again, by technicality. And I know I'm saying it multiple times, and it's annoying, but only because from the legal standard of diplomacy internationally, it's kind of the way it works. So you're not actually born anywhere except in the United States. But it's a place that's inside of the German overall border, so again, I do still believe that somebody that should get like dual citizenship on something like that. So yeah, I'm totally on board. Rights and
And
privileges on both sides.
I'm one of those children. I should have dual citizenship. Senators have told me I should have dual citizenship. Other members of the American Congress have said that I should have dual citizenship, but because of a stupid technicality that has nothing to do with me personally, I'm not. And Canada actually generally gives dual citizenship almost automatically. You're born there, you're Canadian. Your parent is Canadian, you're Canadian. Not always, but most of the time. In fact, one of the hospitals in Ontario somewhere, I don't remember where, but I remember the story. The princess or queen of, I believe, Holland, one of those countries in Europe, during one of the two world wars, was pregnant, very pregnant. They had fled their country in order to be safe, and they had the baby in Canada. Canada made sure that the hospital was the country's sovereign ground so that the baby could be the next monarch, or at least in line for the throne. And ever since then, we get thousands and thousands and thousands of tulips every year. And I remember that because that was a story I grew up with from my childhood. It was one of the ones that my grandparents told me about. I think I know this because my grandmother might have been in the nursing circle that dealt with all that.
Ooh.
Because my grandmother was an Ontario nurse. And she actually told me about the wars then. Anyway, you're talking about how to get Trump voters to switch, if not from Trump to or Republican to Democrat, then Republican to independent.
Right, and just clarifying, making sure that we're on the same page. Not specifically the MAGA Republicans, specifically the traditional Republicans, the ones who have been Republican for a long ass time, who are looking at all these cultists right now, who and just like, the fuck did you do to my political affiliation? I totally get that. Before I let you go the rest of the way, Stephanie had also pointed out, I was born in RAF, and I'm going to butcher this, I'm terribly sorry, Negombo, Ceylon. I only have British citizenship because my father was British. Don't get me started on this. You got me kind of wondering now, what if your dual citizenship was with a country that no longer exists? And I say that because over my lifetime, there are some countries that have ceased to be as a legal entity and others that have begun. And before anybody says, that doesn't happen, might I remind you that once upon a time ago, when I was a kid, there was still a country known as South Vietnam. It was its own separate sovereign country from North Vietnam. And the only reason why there is now just Vietnam is because it was taken over. So keep that in mind. So
there's also this one big, huge country that fell apart. You can no longer go back to the USSR.
That's correct.
And all the countries that have broken off from it, are they still Russian citizens? Are they citizens of the new little country that broke off? And
Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of stuff. And Stephanie's pointing out, and rightly so, it is now Sri Lanka. Yes, but I mean this again, this all these other pieces, and it's just a mess, that whole damn thing. So yeah,
2 years, 6 months, 2 years, 6 months, I will be able to vote. So not this election, the next election, unless a senator decides to bring something up into the House and
piece
sorry.
at a time. So yeah, the idea of getting people who have been traditional Republicans for whatever reason, and I understand it. There are certain economic policies, there are certain social policies. I mean, I get that, but so many of these, the quote unquote, the vast majority, I have to imagine, have to be looking at, like I said, the MAGA cultists who have just taken this whole damn thing and perverted it and polluted it, have to be saying there's no way this is worth anything. But I don't want to lose that identity. That maybe the idea of suggesting, well, why not just go independent, might be appealing enough.
It might be the only way to stop the MAGA Republicans by having all the other Republicans vote anything but Republican. Especially if the person that they're supposed to be voting for is a MAGA Republican. If they can vote for Democrat, Independent. Independent is essentially throwing away their vote, but they still voted. And at least in Canada, if you vote for Independent, or if you even either stand there and refuse to actually vote, which is possible, you can actually make an affirmation that I refuse to vote, or toss in a blank ballot, or even do your ballot in such a way that it's not valid, it will count. And the parties go, wait a minute, why was that ballot cast? What happened? Why didn't that specific voter, because there's no name attached, why did that specific voter not vote?
And the problem that we've got now is that there are so many situations where, yeah, you could be looking at the statistic of how many votes went here, how many votes went nowhere. But the problem of it is, here in the United States, it's just the collateral damage of just dead votes, shall we say. It's just the cost of doing business. They don't really bother trying to figure it out, other than, well, how do we get more votes? Doesn't matter why we lost the other votes, we just need new votes.
Or different votes.
Again, possibly, potentially.
I remember the hanging Chad incident in Florida.
Oh, yes. That was...
I remember thinking, I need to get there. I need to help. I need to help count. I'm independent. I'm from a different country. I want to make sure that every single vote is properly counted. And we sat on the edge of our seats up in Canada for ages hoping that Gore would win. At least the people that I was around.
Yeah.
I don't know about all of Canada, but the people I was around was hoping that Gore would win, because Bush wasn't appropriate.
No.
As a president.
No, he wasn't.
He was okay in the same way that Reagan was okay. The more he slept, the safer we were.
Yeah. And I would very much like to be able to say he ended up handling the terrorism crisis locally okay, but only very few slivers of it all were handled adequately to me. So many other pieces were just just crap.
The
But
fact that people that have families in Canada and the United States have to get passports in order to go see Granny on the other side of the border.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
Canada and the United States are different from every single other countries in the world when they're beside each other. There are so many families together that split up because of how the countries grew. I like to describe the United States as the older brother who had too much responsibility and threw fits and tantrums and finally told mom and dad, screw you, I'm going my own way. And Canada is one of the little siblings that went, we're not going to be like our big brother. No, we're just going to wait out mom and dad. We're going to get our shit together. We're just going to wait it all out. That's the history of the United States and Canada in a nutshell, and the relationship. And families from one side of the border are on the other side of the border from both sides. There's a specific name that is in North America. Anybody that's related to that name is a cousin of mine. And it starts on the Canadian side. And they split up. There was some sort of argument that happened 1850, and they split up, and half of them went to the States. 1850, 1870, 1890, something like that. Half of them went to States. And everybody that has that last name, I don't even use that last name, but everybody that has that last name is related to me. And it's like the United States government is pretty much messed up. There is only the two parties, and if you don't vote for one, you have to vote for the other. But if you vote for the other, you're not voting for the right party. And it doesn't matter which party it is. But that was before MAGA came along.
yeah,
MAGA has taken the Republican Party and has turned them into, I'm not going to say the word, but the mustache man would be happy.
yeah, yeah. It has simply become a perverted carbon paper version of the early 20th century mid-European imperialism. It's the kindest way of putting that. And Stephanie's pointing out Gore did win. Talking about the 2000 election here in the United States, Gore did win. The Republicans cheated as always. I can't find the numbers for the election area in Florida where this whole thing with the hanging Chad thing happened. As a reminder, the hanging Chad thing was a problem with the ballot casting system that was in use in Florida at the time. The idea was that you would be using a fold open piece of paper and effectively a long-armed hole puncher to punch out your and do your vote that way. The problem of it was they didn't work 100% of the time. So you may not have gotten your punch all the way through, so you end up with what was referred to as the hanging Chad, meaning a piece of paper is detached through a good portion of it, but a part of it is still attached to the ballot. And it became a big legal circus because there's no reason for the complicated setup that was this butterfly ballot system.
In Canada, we had a referendum 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And so we actually had to have two ballots. And Canadian ballots are very, very simple. It's the name of the person and a circle. And you put something in the circle and it makes it legit. It can be an X, it can be a check mark, it can be anything so long as the one circle is marked. You can fill in the entire circle if you want.
Yep.
somewhere in my stuff, I still have my ballots from the election in 2021 as well as the provincial election in 2020. And if I can find them and dig them out, I'll eventually show you pictures of them. But every single name on a piece of paper is a different circle that you're supposed to fill in. And these are pretty big names. They're not small little things that you have to figure out, or a different piece of paper that you have to look at. Because I've seen American ballots. My husband has voted in the last couple of elections here, and I've seen the ballots that he's had to do. Mind you, that was prior to him actually doing it. I let him have his privacy because that's how much I believe that he has the right. He has the right to have everything private. Anybody has the right to have what their ballot is private. It's between them and whatever they believe in, but it's them. When it comes to recounting, it's the entire ballot, or every single ballot that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get really.
No.
So the referendum, we got given the piece of paper that had names and the referendum choice. Yes, if you want this. No, you want this. Or no, you don't want this. And that question, the yes-no question, was also identical to the names. Had the question clearly written and circles, and it had it in both languages. I've seen American ballots. I don't know how more complicated you can make them, and I do not trust voting machines. Those machines that people go up to and go bing, 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 bing. I don't trust them because those can be hacked. Those can be set so that the square for the Democrat person is smaller than the square for the Republican person and could even overlap. Because you know those codings. You mess with that coding just enough and you vote for the wrong person. There's been people that have said, I wanted to vote for the Democrat, and when I pressed for the Democrat, I got the Republican instead. It was all over the news reports. I believe that was during Obama's election, his second election.
Could be.
And
I've heard that a couple of different times. So yeah, it could have been almost anything.
so I don't trust those. I prefer the paper ballot where it's clearly name with circles beside them, and you pick. Now, if you were to color in more than one circle for that one type of candidate, then the ballot is invalid.
Yep.
If you sign it, the ballot is invalid.
Yep.
But it's pretty much easy peasy to vote in Canada.
Yeah, and here in for me, it's Erie County, New York. I've got no problem with saying that because I mean that's where Buffalo is, and as I remind you, I'm based outside of the Buffalo direct area. For me, for us, it's very much the same thing. It is a grid work pattern, which on one side gives you what office you're voting for along the left edge. So president and vice president, superior court, dog catcher, whatever items and ballot measures, and along the top edge, it's which party affiliations. So theoretically, if you wanted to do a complete down ticket, as the expression, for the family mothers and family party, I think is one of the ones that I've seen over time, and I'm trying to use that as an example. You could simply, if you want to vote that party, again, just like Io said, for us, it's an oval. You get a pen at the desk. You fill in the oval, or you mark it some way or other. You could even just scribble across it a couple of times so that it's clearly marked. And if you wanted to do just that party, go down to each of the boxes and do each one of them as you go along, and you follow along for how many are you allowed to vote for, and only vote that many. So the the simplest method really is just that. You don't have to worry about whose handwriting is able to be picked out, so you don't have to write a name. You don't have to get into the whole big hullabaloo about, well, they spelled this person's name incorrectly. They added an extra letter, it looks like here, so that's not the same What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, look at it over here. No, man, I'm sorry. We dispute it. We're going to say this doesn't work. Take us to court. And that is something that has happened. And, okay. Do I agree with it? Generally speaking, no, but by the following the rules of making sure everything is absolutely clear, I get it, even if I have to grudgingly say, okay. But I totally agree with you. The systems that we use over here, however, like I said, you have a paper ballot. It's a long piece, like legal doc size, longer even. You fill in whatever it is. When you're done at the table, you put it into a manila folder. Well, not a half folder sheet kind of thing. You bring it over to the computer systems. You put you put it into the top with your markings, down so nobody can read it. Slide it into the machine. It tabulates what you've put in there. Doesn't show it up on the screen. It just shows accepting, scanning the ballot. Ballot is accepted. Okay, and you're done. The tabulation, the preliminary tabulation, is done electronically, but you still have a paper trail, which is the way that it needs to be done anyway. Because if there is a question, there needs to be that paper trail. There needs to be a way of actually going back and going, okay, let's examine all of these ballots. And generally speaking, they're going to go through the ballots anyway, just to ensure that they actually are tabulated correctly. And that's good. So, sure, you could just, convince some of these old guard Republicans, just vote independent, vote Democrat. You don't even have to let anybody know that you moved out of the whatever. But if you want them to make a statement, making the party lose affiliation, lose numbers, and put people into play again properly by making them independent on the rolls, that sounds like a really good way of making the local organizations and ultimately the national level guys kind of sit up, take notice, and go, what happened here? So I like that. I like this idea a lot.
The
Obviously.
other thing is all of the new laws that have been coming in to stop people who are legal Americans from voting. Canadian voting, we will actually go out and find people who can't vote. If you can't make it to the poll, you can call up one of your candidates and say, hey, I need a ride. I'll vote for you if I can go there, if you can get me there. I've sat in the car with the person who I was supposed to be voting for to make sure that I got to where the polls were and got home. And it was awesome. This is back during the reform or the referendum that we had. In the United States, I'm seeing, no, you can't vote if you do this. No, you can't vote if you do that. No, you can't vote if you do this. You're a felon. You can't vote. You can't vote if you do this. You can't vote if you do this. You can't. Canada, you're a felon. You can vote. You're in the hospital. You can vote. You're in a senior center. You can vote. We will bring the ballot to you. Yes, you're incarcerated. We will bring the ballots to the jails.
Yeah.
At least that's what I remember from my training that was 10 years ago. Yeah. I could have ended up being the person going from place to place to place to place. If you're disabled and can make it to the poll, but cannot actually make it to the polling place, but cannot actually make it to the specific poll, the voting officer, the deputy returning officer, whatever they're called, and their clerk will come out with you or to you to the car. They'll hold a shield so that you have privacy and you can vote. And if you can't speak either English or French, they have some words translated. There was stuff that could be handed out that was translated. If you're blind, there's Braille. I had one woman ask me to read out the names to her, and I said, da 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 da. And she said, no, no, no. Where is black candidate? And I said, it's number this one. She had to trust me that I was telling her the right number, that she was marking it right. And she was blind, and she did that, and that was my honor to allow her to vote. It was also my honor to take somebody's oath to allow them to vote, because they didn't have the proper ID, but they had somebody else with them that vouched for them. The United States has so many restrictions. No, you can't vote. No, you can't vote. No, you can't vote. No, you can't vote. Doesn't matter if you're a citizen. No, you can't vote. No, you can't vote. If you're black, if you're Latina, if whatever, you can't vote. You can't vote. You can't vote. You got to prove you're American in order to vote. In Canada, it's different. And it's night and day. There needs to be huge reform. The Elections Canada and Elections BC, which is where I lived, are independent of the government. The only people that cannot vote in Canada is the person at the top of either the provincial or the federal levels of voting. So the Elections Canada officer, the person that is legally responsible for every single vote in Canada, for the entire election, he's the only person who can't vote.
And
same thing provincially.
yeah,
Only person who can't vote.
And that makes perfect sense to me, because if you are, even though it is only one vote, and I'm using scare quotes for only one vote, it is a symbolic vote that the one person that is entrusted with the system should be the one external to it. They need to be simply not part of it, so that they themselves do not put their thumb on the scale. They should be the one watching the watchers, so to speak.
It's both a privilege and a huge responsibility to be the election official. A deputy returning officer, I was responsible for 1,000, 1,500 votes or ballots. And I had to count every single one of them. When it came before the vote happened, I had to fold them a specific way. There was a counterfoil that had to be torn off, as well as the receipt number that was in the packet of ballots. Fold, tear the two pieces apart, hand the ballot to the voter. Voter hands it back to me after they've voted. Remove the counterfoil, hand it back to the voter so they could put it into the ballot box.
Yeah.
And for some people, they just walked off without handing it into the ballot. And it's like, no, wait, you got to put it there.
Yeah. Stephanie is all pointing out all those voting restrictions can be traced back to one party. In the United States, it's not quite so dry and cut. Because once upon a time ago, remember, the Democratic Party used to be the ones who were tipping the scale against civil rights and progressive ideas, where the Republican Party was very much the progressives of the country. And over the course of, just a little bit over my lifetime, it's shifted. It's flipped one from the other. So if we want to lay the blame at anyone's feet, we can lay the blame at the quote-unquote capital C conservatives. Not party, but conservatives. And unfortunately, that group has no longer hidden itself the way that they used to. It used to be just this little innocent thing here and there, and it's just a boo boo. And over all these years, when the progressive Democratic parties have been yelling and screaming about these are wedge issues, this is just a little thing, and then it's going to be just another little thing, and then it's just another little thing, and slippery slope warning, and this is where you're going to end up. Oh, no, 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 no. And it was all just poo-pooed. And, well, here we are, 50 years later, and it's exactly what everybody warned about. And what are you going to do now?
Mm-hmm. The Electoral College needs to go. And it's the same problem in Canada. There's ridings in both countries that have too many people and not enough representatives. The smallest place in Canada has and will always have 4 MPs and 4 senators. The rest of Canada should match the population that small place is. Prince Edward Island. That's how come Prince Edward Island is part of Canada. The United States has the same thing. California needs more representatives. Other places, maybe not so much because of the population.
And that's part of the reason why there's so much of a hullabaloo about taking the census. Who's eligible to be part of the census? Who's not part of the census? Who's a legal resident? Who's not? Let's use that information to our advantage and others' disadvantage. And gerrymander districts, and it's a thing, man. It's just a thing. And unfortunately, over all these years, there's been no willingness to just put your foot down, stick your stones out, and just get the job done that needs to be done. So, so that's why, and I know I'm trying to bring it right back onto the piece. That's why I don't care anymore about the powers that be, shall we say, trying to fix things from a legal standpoint. It's up to the citizenry to do what's necessary, and if that's cooking the registration books to send the message ahead of time, I think it's fine. Because if you eliminate those who are sick and tired of what the Republican Party has become, and they just don't want to be part of that anymore, cool. You boil off the people that no longer want to be affiliated with that cult. It condenses into itself. Fine. It will simply eat itself and implode, and then, well, the Republican Party, as we've known it, will cease to be. It's happened before over the course of this country's existence. It will happen again. There will be a party that will simply dissolve because it ate itself, and then we'll get a different party with these people. And I get it. But is what it is, and I really do believe before my passing, that's what I'm going to see happen.
I was listening to one of the podcasts that was mentioned in the last couple of weeks. The younger guy that does law, I don't remember his name right now, and I'm spacing about it. I've been up too long doing this stuff for Second Life. Anyway, I was watching his podcast, or one of his buddies, and they were commenting about how Florida's laws against felons voting might prevent a certain somebody from being able to vote because he's a felon, whether or not he's behind bars. And you know what I said about that when I heard that? I had a happy dance. Woohoo! Woohoo! Woohoo!
Yeah, but there's a problem with that. there is the possibility, and I never got the opportunity of really checking into it very far, that perhaps Florida will be one of those states that'll say, oh, you're a felon in a different state's border? Well, that don't impress me much. And you're still a you're still a felon there, but no, not here. I mean, you want to have all the rights and privileges of being a person, a non-felon here? Sure. We don't recognize your felonies in other jurisdictions because it wasn't here. Which to me is a little bit of bullshit, but is the problem that we've been running into. Cheats and liars and cheats.
Mm-hmm. Yay, I got a mole bear. Yay. Sorry, I'm bear hunting. It's a tradition in Second Life to go after bears. I'm hoping the felon cannot vote. I'm hoping that he actually ends up in jail.
I'm pretty sure that's going to happen sooner rather than later. Which, by the way, actually, you know what? Hold on a second. Calendar July 11th is a Thursday, which means we will be. Our show will be on the 14th of July. You know what the 14th of July is?
Count me in. Count me in.
Anybody remember what the 14th of July is in world history?
No. Do they know?
Making sure that I'm Yep, there it is. In France, the 14th of July is Bastille Day.
Oh, wait. Let's get out the
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting show. Going to be a very interesting show. I'm going to be very much looking forward to that. And by the way, by the by, for those of you that are that check in on this kind of thing, the former guy's day in court for sentencing on these 34 felony counts is going to be the 11th of July. In the nomenclature that we use over here in the United States, usually it's written as month day. So it'll be 7-11. Some of you might have heard that that number combination before. There's a brand of convenience store known as 7-Eleven.
Oh.
And somebody has suggested that they should have a free orange Slurpee day.
That's another problem with Slurpees. The Slurpees I came from were nice, thick. They were frozen liquid with ice in it. You know, it was like they chopped up the syrup as it was, or the Coke drink as it was freezing, and kept it chopped up. Down here, it's half air.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of a problem. But I mean, what better opportunity? You know, go ahead and do it right. Let's see this happen. I would very much love to see this. But, you know, that's just me. I'm a sadistic bastard. Retroactive bastard. Sorry, that's sadistic retroactive bastard. That's me. Have we met?
Actually, yes, we have. Sort of.
Yeah. I don't wish ill will on anyone. But you know, payback's a bitch, and the find out portion of the fuck around thing, you know, it is what it is, and rules is rules. So, yeah, very much looking forward to that. And as we go around with this, we're gonna need to kind of see about closing this out relatively early because I had a really bad week and I had a really bad day today.
You're looking kind of lobstery.
Yeah, like I said, this week has been at work has been really, really tough on me. Heat indexes of the 90 Fahrenheit plus variety, reminding you that I work outside, and it's a pretty, pretty physically taxing job, nominally speaking. So, this week I've had a number of days where I know I was not dehydrated because I was drinking like a fiend, and I got no problem with saying it. I was peeing clear. And for anybody that's going to be outside, if you pee and it's not exactly clear, okay, it's a little colored. All right, such happens. If it slithers out of you, yeah, you're not drinking nearly enough. Let's just leave it at that. All right.
I've had massive heat stroke at least twice.
Yeah, let's not do that again.
Um, there's a heat warning out here where I am, and I've been drinking like crazy, any sort of liquid I can get my hands on, and I can't keep my sugar up. I'm actually in another crash. I'm not dangerously low yet, but I am crashing.
Well, let's not have that happen.
No kidding.
Last item, just because Stephanie's also pointed out the 2025 manifesto. I have not read it. I have heard pieces of it. I have had reporting on pieces of it to me through various channels. It wasn't specifically for me, but and I think it is fair to say that it is a terrifying concept. I have no other way of describing it because holy shit, this is something that shouldn't be. It literally is something that shouldn't be. The idea that Christian nationalism has taken off so hard here in my country terrifies, angers, and it terrifies me, it angers me. But there is another piece of me that is also just resigned to the fact that this was simply an inevitability because it was so well orchestrated to be able to do as just a little tick here, a little tick there. You make the curve nice and gentle over a long period of time because then nobody really takes notice as to what it is that you're finally doing until you get to, well, you get to 2025. And now what are you going to do?
If Trump wins, I'm going to drag my husband out of the United States. He's going to be kicking and screaming because he's tried and true American and he likes his guns and he can't take them with him because what his heritage and his legacy, it's too dangerous for him to stay in the United States if he is what he is and Trump wins.
Yep.
Because I'm an immigrant, it would be too dangerous for me to stay.
Yep.
And that scares the frack out of me. Didn't swear.
It's okay. And you're exactly right.
And every single woman, every single person who has a woman in their family, everybody that has heritage that isn't Anglo-Saxon white, and even those that are, should be very scared if Trump wins. There's just, with what he did his first term and him set on revenge, he is hellbound set on revenge.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna get messy and it's gonna get dangerous. And what happened with his first term, it's gonna be worse. And I just hope that there isn't gonna be a civil war.
all these amosexuals jumping up and down about my Second Amendment rights to be able to take back the government if it oversteps itself. I got bad news. If you go by that angle, were there to be another 45 presidency and all this
47.
well 45 part 2, if that were to happen, there is every possibility that there would be exactly that there would be a march of sorts. And
My
that
grandfathers and my great grandfather did not serve in those 2 wars in order for the United States to become the Fifth Reich.
Canada did not take Vimy Ridge just so that we could sit back and go, yeah, we don't care anymore.
Oh, look, you guys haven't been taking this? You've been here for how long? Watch this. Crack, crack.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, Canada also has this small problem of, being the reason why the Geneva Conventions are the way that they are. But, I mean,
Oh, you mean this checklist?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a checklist before Canada got involved, but, I mean, it was after. I mean, somebody's got to make a mistake.
Stephanie's saying, talking of you-know-who, do you think he will dare to turn up for the debate against Biden?
My answer to this is, I don't know. Because the odds for me are even on this. He will want to continue talking and yammering, even though they have agreed that on the podiums the microphones will turn off when they are not to be speaking. He will continue, I swear to you, if he shows up, he will continue talking louder and louder in order to have President Biden get flummoxed and stammer and stutter and perhaps try to do something other than just answer the debate question, so that when it comes back to him, he can go ahead and say, look at all the things that he's done. He can't even talk a straight line. And
the way he talks now, it's like he doesn't even know where he is, when he is. He just wants the attention. He wants the cheers. He wants people fawning over him. He wants to believe that he's a real big businessman. And I'm pretty sure he still thinks that he's still the president of the United States. That in his brain, he's still the president, and Biden stole it. Biden is the wrong person. He's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be him, and he's having mental breakdowns because apparently he's getting crazier in how he talks. It's like he has a vowel movement, and his mouth can't stop moving. Thank goodness I'm not really on Twitter, because I don't think I could handle that, and I'm not on True Social because I definitely couldn't handle his insanity.
No.
Just the little bits I've seen.
Yeah, and Stephanie's also pointing out the felon is getting the booze now at his public rallies, very specifically. He does not believe he is still president. In private, he knows. In public, he is using it as a way of continuing to stir up the anger and the rhetoric. Because if there is one thing that we've talked about this before, I've specifically pointed this out before, this country sucks at being proactive, but we are the goddamn champions of being reactive, and usually in a bad way. Emotional reactions, that's all he's got. And the more he tries, the more he gets just the hardliners left over. He is truly the boy who cried wolf, and all that's left at this point is just that little distilled black burnt crust that is left over from what used to be the Republican Party.
And apparently he's even dragging his baby son into it, Barron.
Yep. Yep. Because anything and anyone that he can drag down, he will, because in his mind, it uplifts him. And ultimately, that is all that matters. That is truly all that matters.
I'm hoping Biden wins. I'm hoping that the United States voters come out in force, and those who would normally vote Republican vote for anything else or don't vote. That's the other way to throw it so that the Democratic Party will win. One election in Canada that I watched, the person that we're trying to get in, she was new to being an MP or MLA, whatever. I forget what level she was. But I was sitting there at the bar after counting all the votes, watching the party happen. And she just happened to be at the same bar having the party. I think it was a friend's bar. And it came down to 11 votes. That's, of course, an automatic recount.
Sure.
But it came down to 11 votes. You tell me your vote don't count? It counts. Mind you, only the ones that cast count, but if you don't vote, that also kind of counts. That shows that you're not happy with what's going on. And if you cannot, in good conscience, vote for whatever party it is that you normally vote for, either don't vote or throw your vote. Throw it to the independents, throw it to the other person, or don't vote. But if you cannot, in good conscience, do that, you got a girlfriend that's pregnant, she can't have her abortion, vote Democrat. You are that girl, that young woman, and you can vote. And you can't have your abortion because stupid lawmakers have said you're not competent enough to make decisions about your own body. Vote Democrat.
If you have a uterus, a functional uterus, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's functional or not. If you have a uterus, you need to make sure that you are voting against whoever the fuck it is trying to determine that you are little more than a baby incubator. If you have people who are other than a binary male or female in your lives, or maybe it's you need to vote against people who are trying to harm your existence.
I have told my kids that are in Canada, don't come to the United States, because if you get pregnant, depending on which state you're in, you might not be able to leave.
And it could be a death sentence. Literally.
Yep. Canada, yes, we have abortion rights. We have the ability to have an abortion up in Canada. The problem is getting there.
Yep.
Because there's places that don't have doctors or even nurses. And if you're too far along, you have to have it medically done. And New Brunswick was actually saying that they cannot provide abortions because they don't have doctors that are willing to provide abortions, even though it's legal to provide abortions there. Same thing for the rest of Canada. Rural parts of British Columbia, like way up north past Prince George, in the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, none of it. Upper parts of Ontario, upper parts of Manitoba, and the rest of the prairies. If you need an abortion and you can't get one, you can't get one. You have to travel. And it's out of your own pocket. But you're still legally allowed to have an abortion. And yes, I did meet up with one of those doctors who said I can't prescribe birth control because it's against my religion.
Then you're in the wrong job.
Yeah, I basically told him that.
Yep. Stephanie, I'll give you the last piece on that one, pointing out the whole of the South has banned reproductive care. It takes an 11-hour drive to find it. In some areas, that's exactly right. And some of these places that you want to try to get out of to have reproductive care done for you, you try to go back, some of these jurisdictions are going to try to find out so that they can prosecute you.
If you have a smartphone that has an app that tracks your cycles, delete it. Don't track your cycles anymore. Not even in a book, like a little journal or whatever. Don't. Because if there's any record of when your last cycle was, and there's even the slimmest possibility you could be pregnant, they will use it against you.
Because
I'm
it will
52
show
years.
because it will show intent.
I'm 52 years old. I'm on blood thinners. I also have a genetic disposition to having thin blood. That's probably what saved me when I had my heart attack a couple of years ago. Anyway, if I was to get pregnant right now, even though I would lovingly give my current husband a child and I would be willing to risk my life, I would be risking my life. Even though I'm in a good state that would allow abortions, I would be risking my life. Because a tiny bleed could end up being my entire blood volume.
And let's also not forget the temperature ranges right now are just don't do that to yourselves. It's just oh.
My AC isn't really working. It's not keeping up.
Yeah, exactly.
The room I'm in, I'm sweating. I'm sitting here. You'd enjoy the view, but it would demonetize.
No. No. And I'm saying that I'm making the joke because Fujin was pregnant during some summer heat time, and that was no bueno.
I was pregnant in the summer, 4 out of my 5 pregnancies. I had a stillbirth where the child would have been born in the summer. And I lost the baby in February. I've told you about this. Sometimes I talk about it sweetly. Sometimes, depending on my mood, I don't talk that well about it because I was denied care. I had one of those pro-pregnancy places get into my head, and I should have had the abortion because I had complications, and I should have aborted. It would have saved my life. I would not have had a whole bunch of shit happen to me. But my other 4 pregnancies, every single one of them was in the summer. One child was born in early December. One child was born in August, September, and October. And it wasn't until after my last one was born that my ex-husband finally got AC. And I looked at him and I swore because I'd been begging it from the first pregnancy. Oh, no, you don't need it. It's not that bad this summer. Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yeah.
All the red flags I see in the relationship now.
Hindsight, man. It's all
Mm-hmm.
hindsight.
Mind you, he's not the father of the December baby. That was somebody else, but still.
Yeah. We need to wrap this up because I'm having a really hard time keeping it. Any last item that you want to finish off with here, Io?
I could talk about Second Life and how much fun I've been having on all sorts of descriptions. I could talk about how I believe somebody who is a citizen of a country should be allowed to vote. But I've already talked about that. Basically, I'm going to give you some kudos. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being there. Thank you for logging in and doing what you do best. have had to go to radio, and that would not have been fun. You were the first person who properly said, yes, I'm able, I'm ready, I can play, and I'm even in the sim.
I'm glad I popped back to my home place so that I could get my my birthday thing to res there when it was needed, because I didn't have it with me, and then it was just like, oh, I should probably have that, shouldn't I?
And the way your avatar was perfect. Because, of course, it was a G-rated sim.
Yeah,
So it was perfect.
I made sure of that.
And we really appreciated you. There was comments in stage chat about how you were good, you were making us laugh, and we were enjoying you.
Cool.
I'm very proud of you, and I'm so happy you listened.
Thanks. For me, I will close this off with this. We want to be able to get these people to join us and see how difficult life is being made. It's tough because so many people do not want to be told, you got taken in, you were wrong, you got hosed, you got bamboozled, you got tricked, you did wrong. Nobody wants to hear that, and rightly so, because it's embarrassing. But so many people forget to add the caveat, you got duped by someone whose profession is to dupe you. It's not your fault. You got duped. So maybe, just maybe, this idea of telling these folks, you don't have to join us, just leave them, might be all the impetus they need to save face and still do the right thing. Maybe we don't have to make total converts out of them. Maybe, just maybe, what we need to do is give them the out that they need so that they still feel that they can keep some semblance of respectability for themselves while still being able to do what ultimately they know is the right thing to do. And if that happens to be you, who's listening right now, watching us and watching me, and kind of grudgingly accepting that, yeah, maybe that's the way that it is, please take this part to heart. You made a mistake. You've made hundreds, thousands upon thousands of mistakes, large and small, through the course of your life. And some of them because you didn't know. You didn't know better. You didn't have the right information. You've got the information now. You don't have to make the same mistake. And on behalf of a father who was widowed 19 years, with a trans son in college, who I dragged my feet through several years of him transitioning, getting the legal framework done because I didn't want him to be brought into some stupid, unnecessary, unsolicited warscape because Selective Service could grab him up if it was ever asked for, because they won't go for female. Don't hurt our families. Don't destroy these kids. Do the right thing. You've got it in you to do it. You don't have to be a superhero to hundreds of thousands of people. You don't even have to be a pariah to the people that are around you. You just have to be a good enough person to know that you didn't allow harm to come to the innocents. People who just want to live. You don't have to agree with them. You just don't have to hurt them. Beg of you. Just please. We'd do it for you. With that, I need to call us for the night. Over in the chat, Stephanie, again, thank you. I'm glad the weather is behaving well enough for you. Please stay safe. Stay healthy as always. Io, again, I'm grateful. Thank you for offering to be in. I was not expecting to be alone. I'm just glad that I'm not. Just thank you, hon.
It's a hard topic, and we could rant for hours. If Tech and Joseph and Brigid were here, it could have been the 2-hour long podcast or longer, 3.
Potentially.
I am just very thankful that I have you in my life. You and Dalan and all the rest of the crew. Yes, every single person that I cannot mention for reasons. Y'all keep me going.
Appreciate it. So, folks, we'll be looking forward to talking to you again soon. If everything works the way it's supposed to, it'll be next week on Sunday morning. Very much looking forward to that. So if you want to be in touch with us, of course, all the contact information is available over there on the website, holycrapthevlogcast.com. And of course, you can get us over on Discord. Ping me one way or another on Twitter, BlueSky. Yes, I still have an account over on Twitter. I don't add follows there anymore because I'm not going to assist it, and I keep blocking any asshats that come my way on my feeds, and let me tell you, that's a lot of fun to just, oh, you have maggot in your profile, block. It's so easy that way. But
Do that too. It's so fun.
Facebook,
Oh, bing, bing,
BlueSky,
bing.
yeah, be more than happy to help you out. The phone number, if you wanted to leave a voicemail message, of course, as always, 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. We'll be here. Keep doing what we're doing, and we'll keep trying to help you out. So until the next time, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And like I said, my lady is over 19 years now, and I am still in love. Well, Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.